Hello and welcome to Campus to Community, the Columbia Basin College news magazine to keep you informed about what's happening at CBC and how we can serve you better. Today we're going to take a look at the Arts and Humanities Division at Columbia Basin College and specifically the Mid-Columbia Literary Festival. We'll be speaking with Ed Frost, one of the co-founders of the Mid-Columbia Literary Festival, and with Bill McKay, the Dean of Arts and Humanities at CBC, who in addition to LitFest will also be talking about some of the arts at CBC in music, dramatic arts, and also the visual arts at Columbia Basin College. And we're also going to hear from a former student at CBC, Kevin Glenn, and Kevin was a music major at CBC and got his AA degree there and then went on for a career in music, where now he's in charge of the middle school band program in the Pasco School District. But first, let's talk about the Mid-Columbia Literary Festival, or LitFest as it's called, and we'll talk with Ed Frost and Bill McKay. And gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ed, why don't we start with you, and let's go back a little bit to the history of LitFest. How did it all get started?
Well, about 6 years ago, Frank, I was working with a group from the Mid-Columbia Library Foundation, and we were looking around at literary-related things that we thought ought to either be improved or brought to our community. And one of the things that occurred to us is that there seemed to be authors that went to Yakima to speak, and authors in Walla Walla, and not so many authors in the Tri-Cities. And about that time, I also had the opportunity to go up and watch some of the activities of Get Lit, the big literary festival in Spokane. And I came back and I thought, gosh, we ought to be able to do something like that in the Tri-Cities. So I was casting around for partners, and about the first phone call I made was to Columbia Basin College, and they put me through to Dean Bill McKay. And it just so happened that Bill and Gwen James and some of the people at Columbia Basin College were thinking just about the same thing. So I went over, met with Bill, and it didn't take us very long to put it together, and we're ready for our 5th season. And
it's been a sensational 4 prior to this. Bill, what's this year's lineup look like for LitFest?
Well, we do. We have a very exciting lineup this year, thanks to the work of Ed and the rest of the committee. We really appreciate all of their efforts a great deal. We have an author, speaker, writer coming in from March, April, May, June. In March, we have Scott Nadelson. He's March 12th on the Hub in the main stage, a fiction author. In April, we're very proud to be able to host the first poet laureate for the state of Washington, Samuel Green. And he'll be doing a presentation on book arts along with a workshop on April 22nd, also on the Hub main stage. And then, as well, fortunate to have the great writer, Sandra Cisneros, appearing on our campus on Tuesday, May the 5th, in the Jurdy Center, in the CBC Jurdy Center. She's probably most well known for her book, The House on Mango Street. Wonderful. And she's also been able to, or we are also able to arrange for her to work with students or speak to the students at Pasco High School as well as Kennewick High School as part of the LitFest umbrella. Additionally, in May, we have the Celebrating Young Writers. It's part of the writing competition that the college hosts, and that'll be out at Barnes & Noble on May 9th. And then in June, we've been partnering with LIGO since the very beginning of our LitFest, as we now call it. And they will be having a panel discussion as well as a visit to our Moore Observatory on campus. And their panel discussion is titled Astronomy. Is it more than romance?
Sounds like a great lineup. Ed, I know that oftentimes these literary appearances are accompanied by workshops. What are those like?
Well, Frank, it depends on who the author is, and it depends on their time and their interest. But we've had a broad variety of workshops. For instance, when we brought in the Native American writer Sherman Alexie, a world-famous writer, what Sherman did prior to our main event was to sit down with a number of Native American high school students and talk with them very sincerely about the need for them to continue their education, the importance of learning the language and such. So that's what Sherman brought as a workshop. A couple of years later, we had a couple of very well-known poets, Dorianne Laux and Joseph Millar. One teaches at Oregon State, one teaches at the University of Oregon. And after their presentation, they sat us down with pencil and paper and went through a class of how this is how we begin to teach people to write poems, and every person in the room had to write a poem and recite it that night after the presentation. And then we have, from that we go to things like what Sandra Cisneros is going to do, where she's going to be speaking to a number of students at Kennewick High School and Pasco High School about her writing and about the importance of education and the possibilities of literature and such.
Very good. Bill, we've talked a lot about the humanities and the Arts and Humanities Division. Let's talk a little bit about the arts at CBC and how that fits into the academic transfer mission for the college.
Oh, okay. Well, the fine and performing arts at CBC essentially encompasses music and theater, as you had mentioned, as well as visual arts. You know, at the college we have a transfer mission, and that transfer mission is, in essence, the preparation of those particular disciplines when they leave CBC to be academically prepared to move on and finish a baccalaureate in, as we said, in music and theater and visual arts themselves. And so our students that we have in that division follow that particular path. Additionally, at the college we have a cultural enrichment component of our mission, and that is to provide, you know, a broad range of cultural activities for our community. LitFest is certainly one of those. And the beauty of the cultural enrichment as well as the transfer mission is that our students are involved in most all cases with these kinds of events. In the case of theater, for example, we have theater majors who, you know, participate in the plays either as actors or as part of the technical theater program, you know, that we have. In the music department, one of the events that's hosted is the Jazz Unlimited Festival. We may talk about that later. You know, that festival is a huge festival that brings over 3,800 students on the campus in April, and the students in the music department that are part of that get a first-hand knowledge of what it takes to run a festival like that from its very beginning all the way through its conclusion. And many of those students, when they graduate, they leave us and they go on to finish their baccalaureate and beyond. Typically are involved, you know, in different kinds of productions and events like this. Additionally, you know, the students, we bring in guest artists, and so the students have the opportunity to work directly with those guest artists, get to know them a little bit, as well as hear them perform.
Fantastic. Bill, Ed, thank you very much for being with us. And there'll be a graphic up to show you how to get to the LitFest site for all the dates and times for the Mid-Columbia Literary Festival. And we'll be back right after this.